And I'll get my email out of the way. Okay, let's see. There we go. So we've got our lab today, which is the assignments and the cases, and then discussions, and hopefully we'll have some opportunity to bring in some special guest speakers, and just to make this more interactive than on Tuesdays. Tuesdays is kind of a discussion, but we have to cover the material as best that we can. Some people like the PowerPoint. Some people like to just talk about the main points of the chapter. It's still a hybrid / virtual classroom, so there is some requirement for you to do reading and be prepared to come to class. But anybody that has something that we are exposed to that they don't really understand, we'll have the time to dig a little deeper on that. So let's take a look at, everybody has access to the first 3 chapters of the textbook, correct? Yes? And I have still, I think I have 2 more copies of the textbook that I'll loan out to any student that will make the trek up to my office. But with these 3 chapters, that should get you through to about week 4. That'll give you a chance to get your refund from financial aid and all that stuff, if that's what you're waiting on to get a better book deal. But there's several different ways that you can get your text, and you want to try to do that in the least expensive way as possible. All right, I'm going to see if I can get screen 1 to light up here for me. There we go. So, and I try to make this print as big as I can, so if there's something that we want to discuss, we can actually see it and read it. But I usually only get into this if there's a chart or there's some type of a vignette that explains what we're covering that day. Each one of our sessions has videos in it, and it has other resources to help you understand what that chapter is about. So we'll try to explore those as much as possible. With this technology that I have here, it's kind of crude, trying to play videos from like the internet or from our website. It shows the audio or video part, but it doesn't show the audio. So what I did to try to overcome that last semester is I signed into the class as a student, and I turned the volume on my phone, and it's sort of like a lip sync thing where you got the old karate movies and stuff. It's comical at times, but if you had to watch a 5-minute movie like that, it would be an effort. So, but those are all available to use by you clicking on the link. And we may even have somebody try doing it remotely. A couple times last semester, if a student started the video, everybody could hear it. If I started it, my feedback on my microphone wouldn't allow me to play it. We'd get all kinds of squealing and all that kind of stuff. So the first chapter that we kind of touched on after going through all of our administrative things that we had to cover with the syllabus and the course calendar, it basically was talking about how logistics has evolved, and that it's a very high-paying, high-demand career field. It's been in the top 50 since 2010, and for Indiana, and the governor and the folks in the legislation is putting some effort behind trying to find more ways to get people qualified to do these logistics jobs. It's in the top 5. It's number 3, followed only by healthcare and IT are the 2 that are ahead of us. So it's that high a demand. From where you're at, even out there in Greencastle or wherever you happen to be in a classroom or in a home right now, there's over 7,000 job openings in this field that are less than 25 miles from where you're at. So to say there's no jobs out there in this field, they are tons. They do want you to have some skills and some training and some certifications, to make you competitive for those starting salaries, which average in Indiana at 72. We have a very low cost of living. Some of my students have went on to work for, one of them comes back to memory, went to New York to work for their power and light company, and he was responsible for getting deliveries of coal and for setting up the maintenance and all the supplies they need in their plant. And they started him at $135,000 with an associate degree. So that might still equal like 70 here, but there are a lot of happy graduates of this program. So this is just kind of giving you some background about how the evolution of logistics took place. And each chapter has review questions at the end for discussion. That used to be part of your assignments, those 20 questions at the end of every chapter. And when you multiply that by the semester, it got really quick for students to have to just answer hundreds of questions. So we dialed those back. We may go into it like to discuss a concept that's brand new to you and use their description of it in the discussion, but otherwise these won't be required into chapter work. What we would recommend, what I'd recommend is making sure that you read the case study ahead of time, and that when we assign you the questions, or there's one or two questions at the end of the cases that we've picked out that we want to use, that you give your best shot at what the answer to that would be. Now, in the discussions, you don't have to make any entries in the discussion board. The folks who miss the classes and they still want to participate, they can put their information in the discussion board, and then when we start talking about that chapter on Tuesday, we can open the discussion board and see what their contribution would be. So then they'd still earn some of the participation points. You average about 50 points a week in just participation, so it's a big chunk of the course. When we look at this first case, has anybody read it and can kind of give us the cliff notes or what's going on with it?
I read it, and it talks about a new type of outdoor playground equipment that they want to start selling to the customers. But the problem is it weighs a lot heavier than what they are normally used to, and it's coming in 3 boxes now instead of just one, and trying to figure out how the customers that buy it, how they're going to get it home, or if they're going to charge delivery costs to the customer, or come up with two-wheel dollies or some other way to move the product to the customer.
Okay. And it's usually, this is a lot bigger than the stuff that they've sold. Besides that, it's a lot more expensive. So it's probably going to be sold to a new customer that's not their usual clientele. And, so if you look at that from the marketing aspect, this might be an opportunity to enter into a new market segment. But it might be at a high cost if we look at what the expenses are with it. But the case outlines all of these different locations that are part of logistics. We're going to try to move them from one place to the next to the end user. So it gives you these different distribution points that are involved in the transaction. And it gives some background about the actual company itself, that there are toys, and they do have some outdoor playground equipment. But to date, the largest set they sold was $159, and it was 125 pounds. So now they got this new and improved that's 450 pounds, and like you said, it was in 3 different boxes, and it's $715. So it's a huge leap on outside of their normal inventory. And it's so much so as they're thinking that there was some type of mistake, that somebody was sending them the wrong stuff. But they had a new purchaser that had worked all this out with the management earlier, and they looked at what the profitability would be and thought that it would be a way to go. So it says, you mean to tell me that we expect somebody to stuff a spouse, 3 kids, a dog, and 450 pounds of Super Gem into a sedan and not have a conniption? So they understand that there is a situation here. And they only ship these gems in blocks of 10. So if your store only needed 1, you're going to have storage, and you're going to have a crew that's going to unload those 10 that may not even sell for the next couple months. And then they start talking about maybe backing out of it, but they've already committed to getting 400 sets of these. So that's pretty deep. That's neck deep into this. And they're in January, so they're trying to work out how this is going to sell in the spring and the summer. People normally aren't buying outdoor play equipment in January, so they have a little bit of reaction time. And so they do all of these different thoughts about using SUVs, and when they go out and try loading it and stuff, they run into situations. So here were some of the alternatives they come up with. And for problem solving, this is one of these, there's like common steps in any type of a problem. The first thing you do is you identify the problem. And what happens most of the time in industry and in education, everywhere else, is they improperly identify what the problem is. One of my case studies classes, we decided to do a case on why students were late for class. And so everybody had their own idea on what that would be. Somebody would say like, well, they just didn't leave early enough from work or from home, or they didn't pre-plan their classes, attendance requirements. Other folks are saying, well, we have to park a long ways to get to class, and most of the time it's really a struggle to find a parking spot. But others kept saying that, well, they still think they're in high school and that they're playing hooky, and they don't take school seriously. I mean, they had their own preconceived notions on why people didn't come to class on time. They were slackers of some sort. And so I decided we were going to run that as one of our case studies, and we did surveys, and we asked teachers, how many folks do you have to come to class late? And they'd say 5 or 10 every week. And then we'd ask, could we send a survey to your class to ask them why they are late for class? It goes, well, I can tell you why. And it'd be the same thing. They're slackers. They didn't pre-plan it. They should have left earlier, all of this stuff. They didn't have their child care set up. They didn't have their transportation set up. But when the answers came back, it was none of those things. It was they just weren't able to find a parking spot. And so identifying the true problem, and in this case, the true problem is, how do they get this large outdoor play jungle gym from their store to the customer, or from their distributor to the customer, or from the manufacturer to the customer? So they can use these different logistical venues to get it to the customer, but which one works best? So they started coming up with the next part of decision making is coming up with alternatives. Well, here's one idea, here's another one, here's another one. When you're making these suggestions, they fall into one of 3 categories. One is there's really not any cost to implementing your decision, and it's usually not much of a change in how the status quo is. It's going to be done the same way it was last time. 2 is there's a change in the process, or there's some type of improvement that's low cost. It could be something as simple as opening the store earlier or staying later. It could be something as simple as having a special sale that they get a discount for picking up their own playground equipment. But it's a low financial investment for the decision makers. And then the third one is usually one that's going to have some significant cost to it, but when they weigh the benefits, that it's going to satisfy the customer, which is what they want. They want to have return business. It's going to get the playground equipment to where it needs to be in a timely manner so they don't have to store it. And it's going to move 400 sets of playground equipment. So it could cost them a little bit more, but if it meets all the objectives, then they might go with that alternative. So here's the three, or I think they came up with 5 alternatives. Somebody want to take the first one and tell us what that one was?
Purchase a 2-wheeled trailer for each store.
Okay. And so they got a trailer, but we haven't decided if the customer is going to pull the thing, or if they're going to have a vehicle at the store, or how they're going to actually get the benefit of using the trailer. So that's probably one of those low cost, but maybe not so much. Then what was the second one? Somebody want to pick that one up?
A trucking company.
Okay.
Bring it to the store.
I got a student local that says that they're going to go with the trucking company that can do it locally. So it's like a third-party provider, somebody outside of Kittyland or outside of the manufacturer is going to actually do the delivery. And then the third one?
Stock the super gym at 2 distribution centers, and have the truck that makes delivery run to the retail stores to also make home deliveries.
Okay. So that truck could be a pickup truck, it could be a box truck, you know, like the UPS trucks, or it could be a semi-trailer with a box on it. So depending on which way those come from the distribution center, you know, we have to worry about damaging the customer's lawn, or if they can even get into some of the housing areas with the parking and everything. So what about our fourth one?
Charge for delivery if the customer cannot get the super gym home.
Okay, that really alleviates the cost to the company, but that doesn't build a whole lot of customer relations there. They're kind of like, oh, damn, I thought I was getting a good deal with this $740, but now I got to pay some more money. What about the last one? Number 5.
Negotiate with the super gym manufacturer to ship directly to the customer.
Okay, so here's what these high-paid logistical experts have come up with to resolve this issue, is these 5 different alternatives. And they agreed to come back and after going out and researching costs and everything to have another meeting. And here we had some weather come into play. This is like what we call over in Ivy Tech, Ivy typical. When bad things happen or when things don't go as planned, that's Ivy typical usually. And then we have to brainstorm our way out of it to figure out how to make things work better. Like, you know, setting up a new class with a new invitation. So they come back with their meeting and they're saying, what kind of options can we have with buying a trailer for each store? And they found out there was a little bit of cash we're going to have to do for that. It's $1,800 a trailer, and they need 70 of them, and $250 to add a hitch to any of their vehicles, and then $50 to license and insure the trailers. And if they wanted to have these hitches, what they're talking about is like if you go to a U-Haul, you can get a hitch that has a chain that goes over your bumper, and it actually adds this hitch to like a customer's car. But they found that most of the newer cars are plastic, and so it won't accommodate adding these temporary hitches to them. And so having the trailers, you know, it ran into a little bit of a situation there. And when they start looking at what they think they're going to sell, which is only about 6 sets of these per store, and they're talking about how much they were going to make in profit, they actually are minus $147 to sell those 6 sets using the trailer. So our next person that was part of the decision making is Randy. And it says as far as getting delivery within 25 miles of our stores, it's $38.21 a set. And the rate would be a little less for under 25, about $1.50 per mile if it's above 25. So this says, according to their research, the people who come and do business with them at their store, about 85% of them drive less than 25 minutes. So that's going to be less than the 25 miles. And so if they looked at $38 is what it costs to go 25 miles, if they do 40, then they'll eat the extra if there's people that live more than 25 miles. So $40 is what they're figuring as a flat fee to deliver, having a third-party truck come and do it for them. And then it's how many times that they're going to be available to do that. They said most of the time it's only twice a week, not every day. So if they've got these 5 or 6 stores and one of the stores sells one on Monday, but they're not going to deliver until Tuesday and Thursday, that may not be a big deal. But if they got 5 stores and all 5 of them sell like 5 on Saturday, and then they got to wait until Tuesday or Thursday to get them delivered, then that might make some customers who are going to give it for a gift to their kids, or who had help that was going to come and put it together for them that weekend. It might mess up a lot of people's plans on how they're going to utilize their new purchase. So the folks who handle the shipments straight from the distribution centers, they're worried that this semi, this 18-wheeler, won't get into where it needs to. And I had a picket fence. Well, I guess it's not a picket fence. It's a split rail fence. I ordered for my backyard. It's about an acre. So it took about 400 linear yards of lumber to make this fence go around. So they brought me my fence with a semi-trailer, and it was on pallets. And like, I have a dock for this semi-trailer to back into, and then I have some type of a forklift that I can take these pallets full of fence off of them. So it was quite interesting when the semi-truck showed up and broke probably about 6 or 8 of my neighbor's tree limbs off when he was coming into the housing area. And he says, I got to be at my next delivery in an hour, so we got to get these 4 pallets off of my truck. And you basically have to cut these metal bands that hold them on the pallets, and then hand unload each one of those. And I count them, there was somewhere around 600 boards. And they're not boards, they're split rails, or half a tree. And it took about 2 hours because it was just me and him. So then he wanted to charge me for having the truck there that long. I mean, there is some major dissatisfaction with having a semi show up at your house. Let's just put it that way. So can we charge the customer for delivery? Well, we've never done that before, but we've never sold a 450-pound item. Our choice is either absorb $40 per set or have the customer pay for it. And then they do the short math. They said that's with all the 400 sets that they have, that'd be $16,000 they'd have to absorb. And if we charge for shipping, we're going to have to include that in their spring sale papers. So they said they could make a minor insert if they decide to do it later, but they said that they needed to make this pretty ready to go by Monday. So this is a relatively short case here. There's some of these that when we get into it, it's about 3 or 4 pages, but this only, was those couple paragraphs. So in our assignment tab, let's see if I can pull that one up. It's got, here's our assignment tab. Oh, that's loads of fun. Okay, let me pull up our course again. There we go. All right, so in our assignment tab, for session 1. I'll get this to drop over. Here we go. Is it going to? I think this will help. It has hello. Yeah, I think I had a lot more bandwidth in my home computer than this one does at the office. Imagine. Okay, so we look at the case study. We get this help document. Did anybody take a look at that? I pulled it up here, and it's got a diagram that's showing where the corporate headquarters is, and there's a distribution center in Columbus and Chicago, and then these go to the different states that they're selling these jungle gyms, these huge jungle gyms at. But then it starts talking about they usually deal with toys, electronics, and computers, and then these smaller play sets, and that their emphasis is on their brand, their Kittyland brand of toys, and they sell to regional chains like Meijer and Kmart, Walmart, and their competitive advantage comes from a comprehensive product line. In other words, if you want to do outdoor equipment, they have all of the different stuff that you can do for outdoor playgrounds. If you're going to do electronics, they have the whole line of electronics. So it's a one-stop, one-shop kind of thing. And then they talk about their aggressive pricing, which probably means that they buy in large quantities, like the 400 gym sets, and that they get a deduction for that. And that most of the stuff is self-service, so people pull it off of the shelf, or they got their truck and they put it in it, and that allows them to not have to charge for delivery. So here was their problem, was that it's 450 pounds, it's $715, and it won't fit in most vehicles, and that they're stuck with 400 sets to sell. So here was the bullets of everything that was in that case study we just went through for each of the different alternatives that they came up with. And looking at the alternatives, there's high cost here with the trailer. There's $16,000 with the delivery. Moving from the distribution center, it would cause damage to the neighborhoods. Charging them the extra $40 is probably not going to have customers very happy. And then having it sent straight from the manufacturer is not in the home delivery service. They don't have vehicles that are that small. Plus, they just want to take it. If you look at this other chart, they just want to take it to the point where it gets picked up into the distribution center. So they want to take it to 2 places, and not these 16 or 20 different places with stores and then customers that live there. So they're not in the supply chain logistics business per se. They're in the manufacturing business. So now that you got all of the background on these 5 alternatives, we probably need to consider which one would be the best ones for it. And so looking at what they give for some feedback here, consider the situation from the standpoint of Kittyland, the customer, the manufacturer, and the local shippers, and the distribution center. So not just looking at it from just Kittyland, you want to see what the customer's side of the versions are, which one of these would be the best option for the customer. It would probably be that they deliver and they absorb it, right? They absorb the cost of it. That would be, if I was going to do business there as a customer, I think that would be the preferred one for me if they gave me this list of alternatives. If you look at the distribution centers, they don't want to get into the home delivery, so they probably like the idea of a third party coming and picking them up after they get them to the store. And then it says, what's best for you and why? And that's for question 5. So when we looked at those questions for the actual, let's see if I can get the right screen up here, 1 through 5, we looked at the advantages and disadvantages of the two-wheel trailer, correct? We know how much it's going to cost them. The disadvantages, if the customer wanted to pull the trailer, it'd be very tough because they got plastic bumpers. The advantages and disadvantages of having the trucking companies deliver, you know, they were going to tear their yards up. The advantages and disadvantages of stocking the super gyms at the distribution centers and have the truck that delivers to the store also deliver to the customers. There again, it may only be once a week that they do it, and it could be a large truck. And list the advantages, disadvantages of charging the customer for home delivery if they're unable to carry it home. So here's where I want your feedback. Which one of these, if you were the customer, would you most prefer?
Myself, I prefer they absorb the $40 delivery fee.
Okay. Anybody else got input on what they would recommend?
The same one, the $40 absorb. That's what I said.
Okay. Now, depending on what their markup is, that 740 some bucks per pop. Let's see. Yeah.
And also something, in order to avoid having to pay that $40 delivery fee if they did pass it on to the customer, then myself, I would prefer to go pick it up at the store and not be charged the $40.
Okay. So the plan B, if we didn't want to eat 16 grand in charges, would be to give them the discount if they picked it up themselves. Okay. And almost everybody knows somebody with a truck, right? You folks have a friend or relative that has a truck?
No, I don't have a truck. I don't have a family that has one.
I mean, if you haven't found a friend with a truck, you need to find a friend with a truck. That's I've always owned one, and sometimes I don't hear from people for like 2 or 3 years. Hey, how you doing? You know, how's your family? Still got a truck? I mean, that's how quick they get into where they need help delivering something. But in past classes, they've come up with the situation that they felt they were going to benefit from having a new market where people who either have larger yards or have more disposable income, that besides just selling that gym, that they could make a good impression on that customer by providing that door-to-door service that would bring them back to buy more product from them in their complete product line. So if they got this backdoor gym, they may need something like a umbrella and tables and chairs for their patio or something. Or they may need more games and stuff that connect to this jungle gym, like slides or extra swings or what have you. So paying $40 to have a customer that comes back, that's money well spent. If you look at how much they cost to advertise and how they try to court this new market segment. With all these recalls that are going on with new cars, the amount of money they're spending to try to keep customers happy. Has anybody got one of those cars that had to have new airbags put in it?
I think my mother-in-law has to have that done.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a brand new car. They're going back to like 2004 or something and putting them in them.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
So they, it's costing the folks who made the airbag in the end, it's going to cost them their company. But depending on what kind of a car you drive, the dealers handle it differently. I know from my own experience, I have Hondas. I got a Ridgeline and a Pilot, and both of those were on the recall list. And so I contacted the dealership and I said, look, this recall thing says that the airbag could explode and have shrapnel in it and injure or kill the driver and passengers. I said, I don't feel comfortable driving either one of my vehicles. And I said, we wouldn't expect you to. Come down and pick anything you want to drive for until we get your truck back and your pilot back. So for 6 months, I drove a brand new truck and a brand new car. And when I turned them in, they just handed me my keys. I handed them their keys. The flip side of that, my son has a Volkswagen that has the same recall, has the same airbag, and they basically told him, we don't have any parts to fix it, so if you don't want to drive it, you should park it at your house. We don't have anywhere to put it. And they didn't offer him any kind of a loaner car. They didn't offer him anything except, yeah, I probably wouldn't drive it either. I'd just park it at my house and get some other means of transportation. So Volkswagen's probably going to have a lot of folks, and they have these other problems with fudging the numbers on their gas mileage. So they're really going to have a customer relationship issue. And one of the things in supply chain and logistics that is the competitive advantage is customer satisfaction. And you folks have ordered stuff offline. You've ordered from Amazon or eBay or something. And when they say it'll be there by Tuesday and they didn't say what month, and it comes like 2 months later, you're not very happy with the experience. But if it comes ahead of the time that they said it would, then, you know, that's a whole different, you're like, wow, that was pretty quick. So
Mr. Yancey,
yeah.
so a recall would be considered as reverse logistics?
Yes. That was a good catch there. And we're going to talk about reverse logistics when we get into that part of the chapter, but the cost of getting a good to the end user, it's 12 times more when the good has to come from the end user back to the manufacturer. So reverse logistics is quite expensive, and you try to get it right the first time. But when it comes to like a recall,
it's probably bad for the reputation of the company, like you said, the customer relations.
Yeah, I'm probably going to buy another Honda, and my son's probably never going to buy another Volkswagen. So, I mean, it can make that kind of a lifelong imprint where you think quality service or you think not so much. So that's when the students have talked it out, it comes back to that issue of what kind of a lasting impression do they want to have with these customers. They want to try to beat them up to make $15 on each one of those 400 sets, or are they going to make sure that people are enjoying their purchase and maybe they develop a whole new market and more customers that would come back and do future transactions. So those are the kind of business decisions that they will come to you with when it comes to logistics. And you earn your money. I mean, if you can save an industry their reputation by saying, look, go ahead and pay the extra money because you'll never be able to find new customers that are loyal as these customers are. And the cost associated with trying to market and resell and search for these future customers is far more expensive than just taking good care of the ones that you have. And the bad part is if you lose that customer, they go to your competition. So now you've just raised the stakes where you have to work harder than you had to stay at the same place that you were at. So if you take care of your own customers, they won't go to your competition. And maybe your competition will hear, the customers will hear about how well you did. Like folks started buying more Hondas than Volkswagens. It even helps boost your business. So,
hey, Mr. Yancey.
Yeah.
When you're done, can I give you a quick example of logistics going wrong that just happened to me around Christmas time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I bought a projector Yeah, I bought a projector for my I'm building a movie theater from Best Buy, and it's one that had to be ordered. They did not carry it in stock. So they said come back come back on Thanksgiving Day. It was Black Friday. They said come back on Thanksgiving Day to pick it up. Well, I came back on Thanksgiving Day, it wasn't there. So therefore they took another $300 off of my product. So then they gave me another pickup date, which was probably like the 27th or the 28th of November, and I came there and it wasn't there. So I made them take off another $500. So they, at this point, they said, well, your projector won't be here until December 21st, which at that point was like 3 weeks away. So I said, I don't want it. Then they said, well, we'll take another $300 off. And then I said, okay, I'll wait. But then it ended up actually coming just the very next day. I didn't have to wait 3 weeks to get it, and I ended up getting $1,300 off of this $3,500 projector.
Wow.
Because of bad logistics.
But it sounds like they did the right thing in trying to maintain customer relationships.
Oh, they made me happy. I was happy with the situation. They basically probably gave it to me for free, you know. Or at least for what they paid for. You know, I paid $2,200 for a $3,500 projector.
Wow. And it's everything that you wanted it to be. You're using it?
Oh yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy because it's a good quality, and I got a beautiful picture, and I saved $1,300. So
That's a win-win-win-win. Okay, so
excuse me.
that was a win-win for you and them that kept a good customer. So this is kind of how a case study looks. I would like to have, you know, more like if you folks do the research and you got pictures that you want to show through maybe PowerPoint, or you can go to like Kittyland's website and look at what's going on there today and how successful they are since maybe the case study was done, and see if they are still selling those large pieces of furniture. They may have made a whole product line of them after they resolved to do the delivery. But this kind of is, these different cases are going to give you situations that are happening every day to just give you a taste of what you have to do to make it work. And a lot of folks make the wrong decisions when they just look at the bottom line. What's the immediate cost and return on that cost? They don't look long term. And so it's really an investment in the future of the success of the company if you're making strong management decisions. My brother is the GM for Tom Wood Nissan on the 96th, and they had a second lot that they were paying $30,000 a month in rent, and there was nobody that worked at that lot. They just parked their excess inventory there. And behind their main lot, he's the Nissan guy, they had 3 different lots that they could park their inventory on, and it wasn't full. So he basically drove over. He manages by walking around, and so he goes over and he sees, you know, there's like 25 cars there, and he just paid $30,000 that month to have those 30 cars there. $1,000 per car got added to their overhead for those 30 cars. And instead of being able to give a customer a $1,000 discount, now they were going to be trying to compete with other dealerships that didn't have this lot setting over there just to park extra cars. So he was able to go through their leasing company and cancel that contract, which they'd had for like 5 years. And they'd never had an officer or any of the salespeople or anybody in that other lot. It'd just been used as like an overflow. And so 30,000 times, you know, 5 years is what they were invested in that. They could have bought the property and owned it. But now he's saving his company that money in the overhead. Since it's been decreased, he can give better prices to their customers. and make them more competitive. So those are the kind of things as a logistics person that you have to look at costs, and you work a lot with accounting, you work a lot with inventory, you work a lot with scheduling, and you work a lot with different modes of transportation to find out which one will give you your best delivery results. It'll give you the best for your money. So, and we'll get further in depth with those as we continue through the course. So one of the things we want to try to get done today, is there any feedback or any other questions, any comments about our case for today? And we spoke Tuesday about how we wanted to do the cases, that we wanted at least 7 of those, you know, with our students, 7 of those to be led by a student. And on the assignments, like the video questions and the questions in the case study, I'm going to break it out where you don't have to do all of them. I just want you to concentrate on a question. And it may be that you only have one question in the case study, and somebody else in the class is going to have the questions with the videos. So we're going to put that grid together before we adjourn today, just to kind of get that going. Let's see if I can bring that up. No, it's the other one.
So when you say you want us to do a question, you saying you want us to do one question from each case study, or you want us to lead? I know you said you want us to lead a whole case study. So is that what you mean? You just want us to do one question from each case study?
This is kind of what I'm thinking is I'm going to have each of you for each of the chapters are going to be assigned a question number. Let's say Shane is going to have question 1 for the assignment, if it's a video or if it's a some type of a discussion board question, but there'll be an assignment each week plus a case. And so he also would have question number 1 on the case, and then it'll rotate around where somebody else picks up that first question the next week, and so forth. When it comes to which one you lead, we're just going to do some type of either highlight or change the font to make sure that we identify that is Shane's case that he's going to be responsible for leading. And we can put this grid together based on the input that you folks give me on which of those cases is the most interesting to you. And so this has just got the first 8 weeks, and so you can actually, I'm going to have 2 of these grids. There'll be one that starts from the 9th and works its way forward. You can look at the first 8 chapters, or you can look at all 14 of them and pick the one that you like the best. So this is going to be out there, and you'll be able to see as people pick what they want for cases, what's still available. So all of these cases may have 1 question assigned to you, but if you're going to lead it, you do all the questions. That's the only difference. And then
right. So I'm looking. I'm looking. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at that.
This is just an example one. I haven't got it all drafted out yet, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So this is not accurately. So this is just an example. So don't really pay attention to the numbers.
No, by next Tuesday when we're having our discussion, this I want to be firm so everybody has the weekend to look at the table of contents, and hopefully maybe to get exposure to be able to see more about what each one of those cases are. I'm thinking I might be able to scan those cases in, just the cases, so you guys can see what they are about and be able to read more in depth to see which one's the most interesting to you. But it'll be based on whatever the title of the chapter is. That case will be about that particular part of logistics. So if we look at the list of the content, it's here, and you got case 5, and it talks about supply chain management. And so here it's talking about the increased power that the customer has and leveraging technology. And then it gets into who's facilitators to make the supply chain work. So Johnson Toy Company, I think I can even give you the short version of what each one of these are, because I've taught this like 11 times. If we look at case 2, Just in Time at Kalamazoo, they've got a product that they're trying to send out to like 4 different sites, and they have what each of those different sites store and what the costs are to store them there. And so they're trying to figure out if they want to keep the warehouse and the system close to where it's manufactured. And that's, are they going to make it and send it right to instead of putting it into a warehouse, or are they going to keep a warehouse available? So that's what the just-in-time part is. On 3.1, this freezer company has, say, 100 freezers that at any one time are in a warehouse, and that they pay for the space to have those freezers available to be stored. And so they're trying to come up with better ways to deal with the costs, because these freezers are pretty good size. And if you got 100 freezers, you just bought like a fourth of the floor space in a warehouse. And so they're trying to come up with different suggestions on maybe reducing the inventory costs, or you know, the cost it takes to keep that much inventory by lowering the production, or maybe coming up with special delivery discounts if people buy them ahead of time. You know, that kind of stuff is involved in that case. Case 4, Red Spot Markets Company, and we've got, I got a senior moment. I can't remember exactly what that one was about, so I'll just open it up. But you get the gist. You can look at what the content of each of these chapters are and get an idea of what that case study is going to be about. And as the chapter number goes up, the case gets more and more complicated. So the lower numbers have kind of a cut and dry kind of thing we just went through. And when you get into the higher numbers, they expect that you picked up something as we went along to be able to get that going. Let's see if I can, here we go. This is, I believe, the one that talks about, yeah, this Red Spot Markets Company has a union, and they have a union leader who's pretty arrogant, and they've got this large amount of shrinkage. In other words, there's stuff being stolen and pilfered, and they move frozen food and food, you know, different kinds of meats and all that kind of stuff. So they get a new manager, and he's got marching orders to go down there and find out what's going on with all this loss in product and fix it. And the guy walks in on the union leader having a meeting with the employees, and he's brought stock right out of their warehouse to make them sandwiches and stuff. So you get to make a decision on how you're going to handle this. You're the new manager, and you just walked in on half of your workforce stealing from you. That was fun. Johnson Toy Company has got like a G.I. Joe kind of doll that they make, and the guy gets some bad publicity, like he was involved in some sex tape scandal or something, and so their series is canceled, and now this company's full of all of these dolls of some pervert. And so you have to figure out how you're going to reduce the inventory, or what you're going to do to try to save the day on all these dolls that nobody wants. And there's people trying to give them back to different retailers. So that's a reverse logistics nightmare there.
Yeah.
On case 6, Tempo, I'm trying to remember exactly what went with that one. I am a senior citizen, you know, recovering from pain medication. Yeah. 6, I think we don't do 6. That's how ugly this one was. I spared you 6. It's not in your lineup because they wanted you to come up with a way to go through enemy lines in North Korea and to come through China with your delivery, and they wanted you to hire this procurement specialist who was a shady character, and he wants ransom, and he wants all kinds of extra money to make sure you get the product you already paid for. And so I spared you that one. I didn't have you do case 6 because you really have to get into some espionage kind of stuff, and there's no good answer because there's laws that say we can't do business with North Korea and some of the bad guys that this guy does business with. We can't do business with them, but we can hire a third party that's going to do business with them. Sort of like that show about the two younger guys that got into the weapons selling business. That's kind of what this was about. So I spared you that one. Handy Andy, that's a good one. It's basically talking about, I'm having another senior moment here.
We all do.
Yeah, I haven't got this is my first day in my office in 6 weeks. If you would have seen my desk, you would have thought there was an earthquake while I was gone. So, I'm trying to swim through 400 emails and all of these, this needs to be done yesterday, notices that are on my desk. That's what I came into at 7 o'clock this morning. So,
my husband tells me all the time that I've never been this old before. So he kind of gets it for that one.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, this one is talking about, I'm thinking Handy Andy is, yeah, they're compactors. And they have these different, types of models that you can order to do different things. And they're trying to figure out, are we making the right thing? Is it too big? Is it too small? And how do we service them? They're trying to find repairmen to go out there and put them in, and they're running the same thing that we just went through with the playground equipment. But it's at a different level. It's a service now that instead of delivery, now they want installation. And then if something happens to their compactors, they want technicians to go out and fix it. So that's what you got to deal with on demand management, order management, and customer service. And Chapter 7 is Handy Andy. 8 is on inventory management, and that case is about nails, that you drive into wood. It's the Low Nail Company. And they stock these different size nails in these huge 50-gallon barrels. And they're paying for these barrels. They make nails like once a year. Let's say we make 1 million nails. Well, the whole year they're going to store those nails in these barrels inside the warehouse. And it's costing so much money to store them, it is almost more than it costs to make the nails. And so they want you to come up with how to manage this inventory to where you get it maybe twice a year you get the nails made, or 4 times a year, even though it might cost you a little more money to have smaller runs. They want to see if there's a cost savings on how much it's taken to hold these thousands of barrels of nails in a warehouse for a year. And so that's a very good one to work on, carrying cost, inventorying, ordering costs, because every time you order something, there's a cost associated with it, like delivery and processing. And if the ordering cost is like $500 to get 500 nails, nobody buy those nails. And so they try to get one order and pay the $500, and then they got 1 million nails, they can spread that over, the cost over. So that's a good one to try to come up with different answers on saving money for either inventory or cost runs. 9, facility location. We're going to do something a little different here. It's a fun one. I'm going to have you come up with a place to build a warehouse in Indianapolis. So we won't have a case study. You're going to have a project it's going to be local. And you can use Google Maps. We're going to have you contact realtors for, by going out and checking to find out what warehouses are vacant. And we're going to give you a suggested size and what they're going to use it for. And then we're going to see what you folks come back with on finding us where the warehouse should be in Indianapolis. So we're going to utilize these different things when they talk about tax incentives, population of your market, proximity to your customers. All of those things you're going to learn about in locations is going to help you decide where best to put this warehouse. 10 is a pretty good one. It's warehouse management. And this is one of those where something has been in the family for decades and it's how we've always done it, and it's not taking a look at how to best manage your warehouses. And so we got all of these different like cleanliness, security, hazardous materials, all these things that go into making a decision on whether you're going to use a public warehouse, a private warehouse, a contract warehouse, or a multi-client warehouse. And so that case study, they're going to say, should we move from our own warehouse into one of these other types of warehouses? What would be the benefit to doing that? So that's what that case is about. 11, packing materials and handling. I want to do a fun thing with this one. Each of you would be asked to come up with packaging that's going to protect, and you're going to use the least amount of material because we're all thinking green. There's actually regulations that says if your item weighs this much, then you can have this much packing material. If your item is this size, then you can have this much packing material. If you exceed that amount of packing material, you could be fined by the federal government for breaking their green laws. So in that frame of mind, I would the project asks you to come up with packing material to keep an egg from being crushed, and then you're going to go to a second floor, like on a stairwell or off the end of your second floor house or a friend's house, and you're going to drop this package with the egg in it. You'll take pictures before and then the drop after and see if the egg made it, and you'll take a picture of the stuff that you're going to use for packing materials. Or you can video it, and I've got some funny videos of guys and gals that have done this in the past. So I think I want to do that one instead of the case study, but we, because you could die a cruel death doing a lot of case studies. I don't want these to be, you know, I've already took 2 out. This would probably be the 3rd one because it's asking you how to stack lampshades. It's not very appealing. Transportation.
Yeah.
This chapter 12 one, that's a good one because it asks you to use these different competing trucking companies and whether you use a train with them or a plane or a boat. So that case study is very interesting. Transportation management takes it one a little bit higher. This talks about how goods are classified for transportation. Say, I got a ton of feathers. I got a ton of steel. Which one of those needs a larger container? Did I put everybody to sleep?
No, I'm thinking.
It's a ton of feathers because
I would say the feathers.
Yeah, can you imagine a ton, 2,000 pounds of feathers, how large a container you'd need to hold that? Whereas if it's 2,000 pounds of steel, that's like 4 bars of steel. Or a roll. Yeah. So this is where they talk about whether it caps out on cube, which is the size, or they cap out on weight, which is the gross, because there's only certain.
Okay, I missed what you said about the difference in the ton versus feathers.
Yeah. So if we're looking at a container, what the question was is which one of these would need the larger container? And so feathers won't ever max out on the weight before they max out on the size of a trailer. Say a semi-trailer that's 53 foot long, it would take that whole semi-trailer to put a ton of feathers in it. If it was,
so they're so fluffy.
Yeah, I mean, it takes so many of them.
They take up more space.
Yeah, but if you had
more space than weight.
Yes, that's correct. So if you were removing steel and it was just a ton of steel, it would be like 2 or 3 bars of steel or a roll of steel that would not take this huge trailer. On the other hand, if you had a trailer and you said, I want to put as much, I got paid by how much weight I delivered, I'd want to have a whole trailer full of steel that would probably be about 18 tons or 20 tons instead of delivering a trailer full of feathers that would weigh maybe 300 pounds. So this chippy potato company they go from having their potato chips in a bag, like the feathers, you know, they got all that air and they're trying to protect the chips, to making chips like Pringles that are all engineered to be the same size, and they're packed real tight in a canister. And these canisters are very durable, so the chips don't get banged around. They don't break. They can pack it a lot tighter if they do the Pringle can version versus the big bag with air in it. So that one talks about what's the advantages or disadvantages in repackaging and to have heavier weight and have more of the chips able to go into a truck trailer versus the ones that are in bags, and you can't even put a second pallet on top of the potato chips because you'll crush it. So there's a lot of limitations if you're seeing in bags of potato chips out versus these canisters like Pringles of potato chips. So that case is very interesting. You'd enjoy that one. The last case.
Mr. Yancey.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing right quick?
Yeah.
Like, what's so interesting, I'm just listening to you, and like everything that you're saying about the warehouse and everything we're talking about right now, I actually do the blue collar side of that every day, you know, because I work in the warehouse. So I do the packaging, I fix drop units, I unload trailers, I load trailers to be shipped, I move trailers from the plant to the warehouse. But it's like, I guess this class is what's going to teach me the white collar side of it, right? Pretty much.
Well, this class is like an overview, like an introduction class. It gives you a taste of each of those different areas that you could be a specialist in. So if one of these piques your interest more than another one, say inventory control or transportation management or warehouse management, then we have specialized degrees you can earn that's going to give you the certifications to be the leader in that field. But getting this degree, we have a class on just transportation, which, by the way, starts in about 15 minutes. We have class on just supply chain, which covers warehousing, and it covers how we do the distribution links. We have one on just purchasing, and we have one on operations management where they bring all of that together. And the final class, there's 6 of them, is lean manufacturing and logistics. So this is showing how to make improvements in the process. And each one of those has more in-depth information and exposure to that part of logistics. And when you talk about blue collar versus white collar, we train people to go in at management level. You've got a pretty good job right now, but if you want to be the person making decisions and problem solving, this degree is going to give you that kind of oomph.
And that's what I was saying. I was just saying right now, you know, every day I do the blue collar side of it, but you know, it's interesting because now I'm about to switch over and do the white collar side of it. And all those different ones that you were saying, like purchasing and warehousing, are those all those classes are part of this degree right here we're taking right now?
Yes.
So we will take purchasing and all those classes, but I understand we can go further in depth and specialize in those specifically.
Yeah. When you earn our associate in supply chain, you're going to have those 6 different areas. This introduction class that covers a little bit of all of them. And then you're going to have 5 specific ones that cover the majority of everything else. When you go into a organization, you're going to have the knowledge base to go into a management position. And we have recommendations from the state level logistics committee that verifies, yeah, you're going to learn the tasks that you need to know, the skills you need to know to be in middle management. So we will interview you for a management salary position instead of an hourly position. That's what their endorsements for. And you go on into a bachelor level, you'll get more in-depth exposure, you know, to the mechanics of it. And then you can even earn a master degree in supply chain where now you're designing things like dimensions of warehouses and the right type of containers to ship specialized equipment like phones or what have you. I mean, you get into a higher level of expertise the higher you go up in your education. But
Gotcha.
there's no throw off on doing the feet first. Most employers want you to start at the bottom so you understand how the whole supply chain works. So you're invested there, and they can see your work effort, and they can see that you're quick to learn, you make decisions, and you're kind of a quick study. Having this degree afterwards is just going to be the ticket to go to the next level. So that's our overview today. What I'd like to have you do is, you've got this, I've emailed it to you, and it's also out in the resource tab, is to pick your chapter that you want to do. And when we next meet Tuesday, I'm thinking by Friday, just because I know what can happen during the day, I'm thinking by Friday I'll have that grid out there with the question numbers that I want you to do, and all I need you to do is pick which one of those cases you want to lead. We got it?
Do we need to email it to you? Do we need to email that to you and let you know which case we're going to do, or we just need to start working on it?
If you do that, we also had you guys introduce yourself out in the discussion board. So how about let's see if we can use something there so everybody can see that, hey, I picked the second one, so nobody else will go, I want the second one too, and then everybody wants the second one. So if we look at the discussions, and on our first one, we've got everybody introducing themselves. Well, we got two people in this class, and this is, you're kind of split into two different classes right now. I'm going to pull them together because some of you enrolled in the SOH and the other enrolled in the IOH, but we're going to pull them together. But if you go out to the discussion board where you're introducing yourself, just come back out there and put another post saying, I'd like to have case number 2, 3, 4, whatever. And then when people come out the discussion board, they'll see everybody else's, as soon as they open it, they'll see their title. The title you want to put, I want case 5, 6, or whatever. So then they'll know that those cases are taken. And here's where I think my brother's, I copied his class over. So I can delete that. He's not instructing this one. Okay, so any questions?
Answer a couple of questions.
Yes.
Okay, the discussion board, where introduction, we still need to do that even though we did it online Tuesday?
Yeah, the reason I ask you to do that is through the semester, if you got things in there like, hey, I'm a mom and I own my own dog grooming company or whatever, it helps us network. And it also, if I don't see you show up, I can go out there and look and say, oh, well, the other's going through some medical things right now. Or
Okay.
if you can tell us about your job and kind of give people ideas about, if you're in the industry, about what that particular employer does and what kind of benefit they'd have, maybe, applying there or what have you. But yeah, it's worthwhile to do it.
Okay. I didn't do it because I thought we'd already done it. So, but I will go back and do that.
Okay, good.
Then the second question I have was, did you get my email about this coming Tuesday?
I did. So
Okay.
every one of our courses are recorded, and I understand you guys are working. And you got somebody's feedbacking me. But yeah, if it's recorded, and you can go back and review anything that you might miss on that day. As long as you let me know something ahead, we can work something out to make sure that you get credit for participating in the discussions and stuff. Just do next week's discussion. So if we go to discussions, what we're going to do next week is logistics systems discussions. So just write something in there about what you would say if you were in the conversation, and you'll get credit for being in the class with us.
Okay, so we are supposed to write.
You don't have to do anything in the discussion boards unless I direct you there, like I wanted you to introduce yourself and then pick your chapter. That's all I've asked you to do. This other student who's going to miss Tuesday, to make sure that she's got contributes to the class, I asked her to go out and write. You guys don't have to. We're going to discuss it in class. Any other questions?
Gotcha.
I got the skedaddle, folks. I'm sorry. I'm on a half hour early now that we have this new link. I'll make sure that it gets resent to you. But I'm
And this
going
is
to
the
have
last. This is the last question.
yeah.
I have one last question. So as of today, Thursday, we should have read Chapter 1, viewed our PowerPoint slides. We already did the case study, and watched the video and submit the answers 1 through 5, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to have you do those 1 through 5. I'm just going to have, see, that's where we get into this grid thing where each person does one. If you look at the questions, they're not that deep. I mean, that isn't a tough assignment. You guys could go ahead and do that. But next week we'll have.
Yeah, I already submitted it.
All right, good. But next week we won't have any kind of question on which question do I need to do. You'll have that grid in front of you. All right, folks.
Right, and you said look for that on Friday.
Yes. I got a student. You can send me an email or whatever, but I have to get this other one rolling. So I appreciate your attendance today. This will be recorded as the other Tuesday class will be, and you'll have a link to it in your resource tab. You can go out and watch them as much as you'd like.